everyone. We have our storytelling session starting right away. We have Louis Bird and Isaac Murdoch joining us today. So if you guys can introduce yourselves.
Mane Bojo, was an opkin gay go na be in this nakaz. Can be gukshibigaj watan donjaba, gnoji and do them. And it's na be in Dowdem Kiaj Bekong Linda. My name is Isaac Murdoch. I'm from Serpent River First Nation. I'm from the Fish Clan, and I currently reside at Nimki Ojibway, otherly known as Thunder Mountain. How miigwech?
My name is Louis Bird. I live in Peawanuck, Ontario, and I am a storyteller, more like legends, some mythical stories, and some of our 5 of our famous legends, and 2 animated stories. I have many other stories that I enjoy telling people when they want to listen. So that's what I am.
Awesome, thank you. So Isaac created a short video, and it is a story of the pandemic prophecy. So if we could watch that first, and then we'll have a discussion afterwards.
For my people, the sicknesses that are happening today was foretold from the prophecies that were passed down from our old ones. We call them Omushkego, meaning things to come. And so we know from the old prophecies of the past, there is a lot of traditional practices that can help us add volume of knowledge needed for the present times of sickness. For example, it was foretold that people would need to make their own dishes out of wood and never to share them. They were also told of the plant and animal remedies that would be useful during such times. Through the ceremonies and visions of our medicine peoples, it was advised that families needed to self-isolate on the land. When they did this, they would be okay. This all came from prophecy. This all came from ceremony. Our elders always remind us, all of the laws that are being broken right now is what's causing the sickness. Because of this, we have to go back to the old way of life. That's what they always talked about. The elders are constantly reminding us to go back to the land because it's the biggest and most powerful healthcare system we have. The medicines are a part of the answer, and so is being part of the land. We are the land, and the land is ceremony. We're often reminded that hoarding and being greedy is part of what causes the sickness. So if we want the sickness to go away, we have to give. We can't hoard anything. This protects us and takes power away from what feeds the sickness. I believe that we're in a sacred story now, and that 1,000 years from now, they will be telling this story of when the two-legged tried to destroy the earth. I really truly believe that right now, if we follow the natural laws of the land, everything will become beautiful again. Everything will be okay. I remember years ago, my great-great-grandfather said, you know what? We need to go home. We have to go back. And it's okay to do so, because that's where we're going to learn to live again. Now, miigwech. Thank you.
I want to thank Val for inviting me to be on here. So thank you, Val. The video was made in response to the pandemic and just some of the things that we heard growing up. And the old people always said that there were sicknesses and that they roam the earth, and that there was 2 sicknesses that live in the sky, and the animals are going to call them down during a time of crisis, and that these sicknesses have long legs, and they're going to go around the earth, and they're going to enter into our homes. And so we're always told to to make sure that we were careful and that we followed our Anishinaabe Atsun. We followed our teachings, and so that we're able to make sure that we weren't going to get sick. And part of that, of course, was returning to the land and being a part of creation, and to follow our original instructions on how to live here on the earth. And so that's what we were always told. And I remember before the pandemic came, they talked about the medicines that were going to be used. And, you know, I never believed it because I heard my grandmother talk about the pandemic in 1911. She survived that pandemic. And she was married when she was 13. And she was married to my grandfather. And it was an arranged marriage. And he was a bit older than her. And she was told to start having babies and to have as many as she could. And so she often said that during the pandemic, it was the women, the moms, that saved the village because they're the ones that repopulated our villages. And so my grandmother had 16 children because of the pandemic, because of the lives that were lost by it. And, you know, it was often told that at that time, we were told to stay away from the non-native people. But what they did was the Indian agents corralled everybody onto the reserves, and the Indian agents would come in, and people were getting sick, and they weren't allowed to leave. You had to have a pass to leave. And so our people really wanted to get out on the land. Those that left the reserve, they never got sick because they went into the forest. And so the elders always said when the pandemic comes to go back into the forest. And you know, go back and take back the Kendanamoin, the knowledge that's there. Take it back, because that knowledge that the land has will help us through the sicknesses that are coming, because sickness is like a spirit. It has a spirit. And so, and the land knows everything. And just the elders always said that the animals are not happy. They're very, they're very sad about what's happening. The Mategug, Wesiwag, the animals and trees are not happy with what's happening. And that, you know, everything is not doing well. You know, the Gnoshiwag, the fish, the Benesiwag, the birds, you know, all of these things are being harmed. All of these things are being destroyed. Meanwhile, when the wind even is being hurt. How can you hurt wind? Meanwhile, nippe, even water. And so these sicknesses are coming. And, you know, so as Anishinaabe people, we're, as an indigenous species to our ecosystems and to our lands, we go back to that. We become a part of that again. And when we do that, we protect ourselves because we become part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And that's why I wanted to make that video. And it was really fun to make the video, but it's also been really sad to see how many people have gotten sick and passed away by COVID. So with that, you know, my thoughts and prayers are always with them, with the families that lost somebody or that are struggling. Lots of people are struggling now. And, you know, so I think that when we return back to our oral history, our Atsukanan, then it helps us make better decisions about the future and understand how to proceed forward. So that's what I have to say about that. Jimmy Gwitchfell.
In terms of the sickness that we have, not so much, but I don't like to make a little statement regarding all this. Most of what Isaac says is very It's very true. It's a human that destroys things that nature that exist, which we believe the Creator have given us. But the thing is, since that we've been invaded by different countries, different ideas, and also many other things that brought into this community. These foreigners who came from the Europe anywhere, they brought their troubles with them. They brought their diseases, they brought their anything they have established. They brought their religions, which are different. Sometimes the same name of religion, they found each other. They included their God when they kill each other in the wars. These are questionable. Which God are we talking about? Is a creator that our ancestors talk about is much kinder than those who brought in their own religion. And also to say now, to return to the natural surrendering, that is a little bit impossible now. As I said, the visitors who come here will take the land over. They brought with them the laws, the rules that makes you a stranger to your own country. Like in our place where you used to enjoy our life, it's divided by the trap lines, and it is the government, provincial government does that, and it divided us. And sharing the land that we used to believe in, it doesn't seem to ring true anymore. That's one thing that I notice. It has been destroyed. Sharing the land, sharing resources on the surface. We have not ourselves. We have not yet dig into the ground to crush the stone to take the minerals out of it. We haven't reached that far, but they do. They have technology a long time ago to be able to do that. And for that brought with them also which they valued most than anything else, it's money. Today, it's money that controls everything. A religion has been put on a back burner for those people. And we left that in between. What can we believe then? Or can we go back to the ways? To dig back to the ancestors, the Creator, the Great Spirit, to have created the nature in which they have enjoyed? That's the question I have in my mind. I know when we are in the wilderness, in the past when I was young, we used to have a common coal in the small village where the Hudson Bay Company stay at the mouth of this river, and the priest. Only 2 white people living there, and they have their own house. They have their own house. And they didn't have no running water. And so we go there to trade with them Christmas Day and also Easter. Well, every time when you go there, as maybe 5 or 6 families staying there a week, we develop this common coal. And the old people used to advise us, go back to the wilderness quick before you get too sick. And it happens. We did that. We moved back into the wilderness. In about a few days, we get well again. So that was the nature of our land. It heals us if we stay there. Gives us also comfort. It gives us also the care that we need. It gives us there. The only things we don't see who give us. We don't have to make any structural things that we could ask our Great Spirit for the benefit. We pray right in the open, right directly to this Creator who have given us the nature as good as it was. But today, those are the things that seems to be been more like destroyed, if I may say so. And I don't mean to hate anyone. I don't mean to hate people who brought this thing. No, it just seemed to be been decided to be by this time, as you see it. When we overuse something, we find it sometimes uncomfortable. Anything. You could love only so much, and it's always nice. You could do some of the things that to benefit your body, you could then well. Spiritually, when you use all those things that was given to you by the Creator, it gives you total comfort. You don't need anything else. And that was our ancestors' belief, and they had their own spiritual connection. By living that way, times before the European came, that is only not even 600 years ago. Our ancestors used to do that. They used to have their spiritual connections in any place, in any way they see. Anything on the wilderness, any element that they use. Air was clean, water was clean, and the land was clean. Nothing was destroyed. It remained as it was been created with our people. And then, 600 years ago, the strangers came in, who turned things, everything in the way they wanted, to restructure the things that has been given to humanity. That I'm thinking about. Today, when I see those things in my mind, I can see it. Can we ever return? Is there any place here that we can return to the wilderness peacefully without even bother? It's almost not possible. We have the nation who come here who brought their laws, religions, and everything. It has restricted everything and give us strangers to our own land. The federal government put us in the reserve. Provincial government prevents us to get out because of the resource that's surrounded around the reserve. We don't any freedom to call it ours anymore because they think they own it. And also the religion is packing up this thing, and it says, if you don't listen to the federal government or Ontario government, you are against God, their God. That's my way of thinking. So all this I'm thinking about when you talk about this epidemic that we have now. I will stop there for a time, but I'm going to return to the old ways. Before the European came in, our ancestors, the ancient ancestors, they knew everything what the European found out with their high technology. Only then they can know what that is. But our ancestors who lived here a long time ago, they know these by heart. But they didn't touch it. They didn't rearrange anything. They just received it as it was given to them. And today, that's what we call destroying the nature, even the atmosphere, which we so worried now about the climate change. And we also now have a disease that is engulfed the world. Something there, my way of thinking, there's a message. If I were to go back to the European ancestral wisdom, I have here in front of me what they call the Holy Book, the Old Testament. I read that many times, and I read it at the beginning. And it says there was God in a spirit world. And then he said to the angel, whatever it is, he says, let us make man in our image. What is God represent us? He has no body, he has a spirit. He doesn't need those things. But he made it for human. And it seems like he made it this thing so we could earn it. So we can earn his love and take us back to where he is. This is only a temporary gift, but we seem to destroy it. And that's what makes me want many things. I could say more if I wanted to, but my time, I don't know how much I got. I was talking about the, yes?
Oh,
I was going to talk about our ancestors, how they do it. They were able to do things without much of any gadget. They were able to use their mind to enable them to do what they want. Anything that's not possible with a natural body. And that we call them spiritual people. But they have to earn that thing. They have to go right in the wilderness where it's very clean. And also they call that fasting in the English word. But in our language, we call that Dawupomun. They do that when they are young until they get old and they acquire this mind power, which they call, there is a 7 level of consciousness that you have to be awakened in order to enjoy the world as it has been created. I hear that in our area, where the Omushkego people are living. I have interviewed them many times, and they say the same thing. And so also I hear other places in this country and also in the state, they said 7 wisdom of our ancestors. Is that the same? But us here in the Omushkego country, they call it 7 consciousness that you have to be awakened in order to blend with nature and also to understand the spiritual value of everything. That's what they believe. But me, I am a Christian. I was born Christian, baptized Christianity, and then went to residential school and everything. But when I come back, I ask my elders, why do we have to go there? Didn't we have no school? They said, we did. But we have to submit to this other religious practice because it's much more easier to follow. So that's where I'm going to end for that. I don't know how much time do I have to speak to you. Does anybody know?
we have time. We can go for as long as we have lots of time today.
Okay. Can I continue then?
Yes, you may.
Can I?
Yep.
Okay. Because I feel like I'm teasing you by just touching this and that without an explanation. Okay. I was going to tell you how our ancestors did manage to fulfill their dream quest, they call it in English. They were able to heal by the mind power. They were able to use the herb and plants by dream quest. Dream that told the dream, that dream told them to take that plant and use it for this disease, to heal. If there's a cut open fresh, the mind tells them, take that plant and put it there, and it works. And also our people use what they call in English penicillin long time ago, before white men came. And they get it from the animals, and they heal with that. But they did not make any needle like they do today. They just applied in the open fresh, and it heals. Many other plants were used that way. That's just healing, medicine, which they call the wilderness, medicine for the wilderness. That is all left behind. Very little do we use now. Maybe 3 only items we use now as we live in a community. We use our famous stuff, is what they call Labrador tea. We use that many ways. and the other one is almost the same. And then also we use the other stuff in the trees. We use the sap, the tree sap, and blend it with something else to heal also a solution. There are many things like that. And now, I will not explain about the spiritual part of our ancestors because I never experienced that. But I heard lots of it from the elders with whom I have interviewed. It's amazing. It's unbelievable the way to describe it. And it's also very beneficial for them. For that kind of religious belief, it gives them the individuality. And I asked some elders, why did you people get together and have a town like White Man City? And they said, no. The Creator did not give us that way. He gave us to use all the land that He created so it can be useful. It won't be stay empty. So we have religious belief now that we can pray anywhere. One family have his own system of praying to the Creator, and his children follow the same. So it gives them to use all the land, all the district which they use for their survival. That's a small explanation that I have. But this kind of spiritual belief is very beneficial. I have listed here for the last few days how many things they can be used to use these in traditional healing and things like that. I have many of them here. And also all these things that I mentioned, the good things they did by their own spiritual practice, it is also contained opposite of each. There is a good part they have and there's a bad part. There are good people one time who use a very good, with their skill and knowledge and power. And these, when they go bad, they were bad. They were not very nice at that time. But that was the only spiritual thing they have. So anyway, just to show you what it looks like in the list. I work on that very hard before I come to you, because I want to express it to the way, how much I have been told about the nature, about also how to respect the land. As of this today, I saw many different things, changes for the last few years I have lived. I have changed maybe 3 times. The Christianity that I know at the beginning, it changes 3 times. The things, the way our people used to respect the land and hunt, it changes because of technology, because of the transportation. The snow machines and open motors, these noises destroy the peaceful nature of the animals and all that, changing everything. That is what I know it's happening. But can we go back there? Is a question. But it seemed impossible because, as I said, all the land has been claimed by these visitors who came here. So that's trying to cover every subject that we might think of. But that's just really shorten it. It's trying to minimize, but trying to cover all that I think it's important. What do we do now? There's one thing that I've been trying to do myself ever since I have interviewed the elders here in the Hudson Bay Transfer. There were 5 or 7 communities I visited the elders and asking them the past and how they live and how it was before they even came. I have those. I have 5 legends with the human being and 2 animals and birds. And all these are teaching material. Our stories, legends, it's just like a textbooks. One legend plays the role of something. If I were to tell you the legend, you will find that in the good book, Kisaki 13, only a different word. So all these I have learned from those elders that I have interviewed. And now they are gone. I am now the elder. All those that I have interviewed, they are the last time in 1992, they all did now. Only my age group are still living. So this is something that makes me so sad when I see them gone. If we don't keep the legends, if we don't understand what they mean, we will lose everything. Because we already lose quite a bit. And what I mean to say is that if we do not write it down, it will be total lost. Because we don't use it anymore in our community, in our children. We send our children to school, day school. They come in the evening only to play. No time to entertain them or to teach them the old stuff. And then when they get older, they go to high school. When they finish high school, they're totally strangers. That's what I see is happening here. And that is why today I think we should do every effort to find. I've been asking for funding that some young people can be taught to read as I do. To read syllabics, writing, as it is. So to write the story like this. And then to be translated into English so everybody can read it out. But there's none. Nobody writes those things. That's all I need. That is all I was hoping. If I could get some help, the money will go to teach the young people to be able to read and write with this computer. And then they will keep all those legends and stories that I'm telling you much more. While we're still living, while we still remember. And that is what I'd like to express to you. I will give you one example, okay? One example about this, the old legend. In the Bible, I'm not making fun of the Bible, okay? I'm just comparing our stories in that one. In the Bible, there was a story about Joseph, who was taken to Egypt by the caravan. And he stayed there as a young man, and he began to be a very important man. Began to be next to Pharaoh. So he was very interested to his ancestors, his fathers. And while he was there as a young man in the Bible, says, while he was there, he had this very important man. He was a servant to him. And his wife, that Abishag, make advance to this young man. But Joseph, being a good person, he refused. Then one day, they were alone somewhere, and she had make a strong advance to make her have sinful thing, okay, it's right there. But he ran away. He left this garment, maybe the top thing, and then ran away. And because he did that, he really made this lady mad and turn around as her action, tell her husband to kill the boy, because the law said, if the servant is abusing his mistress, he was to be killed or put in jail. That's the story that we get there. Now, my story. There was this old man here in this Nova area. There was this old man who married once, and he had a few children, but out of them, one stand out, a young man. There was a young man about 12 years old, and by the time his father began to sort of put away his first wife and take another wife, a young wife, then mistreated his first wife and along with this boy. So in time, the young man began to be a youth, a strong man. And the lady saw the wife. She started to play with this young man. But he didn't like it. First of all, he doesn't want her at all. She was mad because her mother was mistreated. So he always stick around to his mother. Then one day the young lady, managed to convince her husband so that he could come along when she would go picking berries in the month of August when there's lots of berries. So the old man says, sure, favorite protection. While they were there, she attacked him to have sex with him. But of course, the young man, because he hated her for what she did, and then he ran away. Then he ran away, and then the young lady went back to her husband and made himself a sign as if she was being raped. And then begged her husband to kill the son right away, because that was the rule. It was not required to be happening that way. The rule was no stepmother shall pour out the son of thy father. It should be killed, that person. That's the law they had. So that's what she wanted. She wanted him to die because she failed. But instead, the old man knows that it's not. He knows the young man is very, very honest. So he says, wait, I don't do that. I can't do that right now, says to his wife. And so it takes a year. A year later, he sent his son to go to live with her ancestor, an old lady. That's where he learned how to accumulate some mind power. And so he managed to have all that training, and then he came back to his father again. And this time, a year after when he says, wait a year. So he knows by this time he wanted to kill him. And so happened in summer, the father says, come on, so let's go pick some eggs out there in a lake. So he knows, the boy knows that. So they go out there. And then when they landed there are many eggs on the island, seagull eggs, all kinds. He picked it up. The old man stays in the canoe. And then he said he bring the whole basket full to him. Hey, I got fill this full basket. And then the old man said, you go back there. See the dune there. You go behind. There's a large bird there, and you can see it. Bring one egg or two, it'd be great. And so he ran over there for a little ways. And then when he bring it, then he came back to this hill. His father was gone. He was already out there in the water, paddling away. And he yelled, and he says, Father, you left me behind. As if you eat us in here. Goes on. So the boy was crying. So he remembers that, he wants to kill me. This is where I'm going to die. But he went to bed. He cried on the shore. Finally, all of a sudden, he hears a very kind voice. And it says, my grandson, wake up. And then he looked and there's nobody there. And then he hears again it was on the water. They look at the water, there it is. A monstrous kind of person. He drank that person before when he was young boy. That animal from the water. So he said, the animal says, come, I'll take you to the shore. And he runs over there, you? He says, yeah, yes, you saw me before. My dream, yeah. He says, I'm me. I will take you there. He says, sit at my head. It's got the little horns in there, the little ones. Hang on there, I'll take you across. So he did. And as they go away, and then he stopped this beast, and he says, one thing, you're going to have to tell me if you see a thunderhead forming up, because I'm not supposed to be on the surface of the water. So he says, okay. Soon enough, the thunderhead forms up very fast, and it comes toward him with the lightning and everything. He didn't tell the beast. He just jumped around like that so he won't hear anything. Finally, thunderhead was up here and the lightning and everything, and it struck them. He jumped as fast as he can over there, and the beast was gone. The only thing there was the blood. And a lot of it splashed up in the air as he was standing there on the shallow water. This young man, a blood drop on his hand, and it says, you see what happened when you didn't listen to me. Now I will not be able to help you. You are going to find it hard to reach your goal that you wanted to go to your father. That's it. So he saw it walk across. There he found another old lady who show him how to go about to go. And the old lady said, the thing that you wanted to do, it's impossible almost. You will have to go around the world, and then when you come, you may be able to kill your father, because you're not supposed to kill your father for any reason. Any of your parents, you're not supposed to do that. And so this young person says, okay, and he got some tools and everything, which the old lady gave it to him for his journey. And then he went. He went to many trials and dangers, encountered all kinds of things, even giants. There were giants in a place somewhere, and some animals that looked so fearsome, and also the land that was very bad, that he has to go through. In time, they said, after many months, he returned to his father where he was, and they see it there. By now, he was white-haired, very, very poor. Mother was still outside that different place. And so that's the end of the story. It goes on. I cut lots of it halfway along the way. There were 10 trials along the way. 10 trials that he should follow, not to avoid, but to go through. So David, if you listen to this story, did we not hear it in the Bible? The young boy ran away from the lady that he was supposed to be killed. Almost the same idea. And also the little lady who gives the boy tools and everything to use and how to do it. He says, you will encounter 10 trials on your way to show you that it's not possible. You're not supposed to kill your father. Anyway, if he wanted to go, these are the tools. Go. There's that again. 10. You know the number of them? 10 commandments. We have those things, but we forgot them. And that is why I say we will lose these legends, how they apply. I tried to explain that to my fellows over here. I said we should put it in the title as how the legends are applied. Just a minute. There's a title there. The application and the use of legend. That's the title of what I'm thinking about. To be able to explain what happened, what did it mean, and compare it to the other countries. So you see, our ancestors know the evil and good. They had laws, but they were not written. So that's my story. Okay?
Well, that was a really good story, Bill. I could listen to you for hours and hours. I wish you wouldn't have stopped because it's. I want to know all the missing parts.
Yeah, there's lots of us. Wait,
yeah.
if I may, you know these
Yes,
legends
please,
I'm
go
telling
ahead.
you, they have 5 human kind, okay? 5. But they are told 5 different ways. First is for the children, the one I can understand, and then the teenagers. It's different to live it. And then the youth, before they get married. It's different again. And then the married people, and then it's different version. And then amongst the others, it actually is a life experience. So they exchange life experience that way. And remember, there were 2 animal stories. The animal stories, I call them, they called the giant skunk. That's a very exciting story. It's about the animals. And then there's a bird stories. There's a story about this. We have geese, we have ducks, we have all kinds of stuff. And then we also have the small ones. Amongst the great ones, there is a great one like a loon, a very beautiful loon, red-troused loon, white-haired loon, and Magansus, and then the one that brought all this, his name is a Syncopus, his name. And he's the most dangerous one. It's exciting. So all these things we have in a legend. And then we have other stories that describe a nature of being, what they have a poor years in life, when people have starvation, when the world was changing, for renewal. People used to short of food and they die of starvation. Some of them turn into a cannibalistic life. And these are very terrible stories, but they too bring some picture. And also there's a stories about a person, a human being, how a human being became mentally retarded. How many different ways are they? They're all there. Tells you to avoid that happening. That's how the old people used to teach. All the things. So all those I have managed to try to put them in a little bit in writing. And so that's it. I am done.
Wow. I feel like you're not done, Bill. The more you speak, the more that we want to listen to you and hear those other stories, especially about the giant skunk.
Oh yeah, that's a very exciting story.
I believe it. You know where I come from, just south of you, on the Great Lakes, North Shore of Lake Huron. And you know my great grandfather walked all the way up to Hudson's Bay, to Mushkego Niniwak people. He walked all the way there, and they brought him to a spot where a comet came down and crashed in the land there. And he that medicine that he was after only grew in that spot. So he was a young man. He walked all the way up there and he got it. He came all the way back. That's what I heard anyway. My great grandfather did that. But thank you so much for sharing, Bill. I definitely don't. I would like to sit with you one day and just listen to you, if that's okay. One day.
All right.
So I guess I'll talk a little bit about where I come from on the Great Lakes. We grew up in a hunting and trapping world where we lived from lake to lake, and we lived on the land. We always fished. We lived on moose. We lived on birds, and just whatever we could find and eat. We lived by the seasons all the time, and that's how we lived. But just like everybody else, at the age of 5 years old, I was taken away by Indian agents too, because that's just how it was at that time. But when I came back home, the old people always talked about these beings that lived in the ground, very powerful beings. Chiginabeguk is what they used to call them, like big snakes. They got horns. They got little arms and legs. And they always said that they could eat a person no problem. But sometimes if that serpent would favor you, it could help you. And so where I come from, there's a lake called Nsagamogaming. And what the word means, Nsagamogaming, it's like the spiritual chief lake, if you're to translate it. And there's an old serpent that lives there that's the boss of all the other serpents around here. It's an elder. And this serpent, it has a tunnel that goes from that lake, and it comes up at a place called Kopkikmixing.
Mm.
And at that place, when you go there, you'll see old shirts and old clothes hanging up in the trees way in the top. See, a long time ago, we used to leave an offering there. We leave something there for them. And then that tunnel goes down. It comes up at a place called Mintaguyasin, the gift rock. Then that tunnel goes down again. It comes up at Ginebeguk Subigajwat. Ginebeguk is like serpents. Jabi is writing. Ajwat, that means on the rock. And then of course, that tunnel goes down. It comes up at a place called Nia Shing, which is the point. And then of course that serpent tunnel goes to a place called Shkodeing, the place of fire. Then it travels off to Bodashkaying. Then it goes to Kwikwegzhong. Then it goes to Metigogzibing. Then it goes to another place called Asini Swasening. Then it goes to Ajdap Kissining. So as a young person, as a young child, I was told of these places where these tunnels come up, because that's where we'd go leave our offerings. And we used to call these offerings Zenba Metigo and Sak, which is like ribbons and little sticks. And I remember as a young child, they'd put me to fast at those places, like what you're talking about, Bill. They said, "Oh, you gotta go get educated there. That's how you're gonna learn something." I was scared, very scared. And they left me out there with a blanket. And that's it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. They just left me out there. And I used to cry. And all those places I talked about, there's something called Masanabiaganan, which are pictures that were painted on those rocks a long time ago. And they used to use this paint. It's called Ottoman. It's like a red clay that they used to make the paintings out of. And they always said that those beings in the ground, that they have families under there and they're to be respected, and that sometimes they come out at night and they feed in the lakes, but they live in big caves underneath the ground. So a long time ago, when the Jaganashi when the new people arrived, we told them, you're not supposed to dig deeper than your hand, only to bury your dead. Because if you dig deeper than your hand, it might disturb those beings under the ground. And if you try to dig that power in the ground up, it's so strong that it can destroy the earth. And that those serpents, they have eggs underneath there. And that if you bust that yolk, and if you bring that yolk up to the earth, it could destroy everything. That's what they were told. That's what in my family history, that's what we were told. And you know, they always said, "Giken mananek, gawin wika." You know, gida knock nagayin. They were never going to honor those laws. We knew that. Right from the get-go, they were never going to honor those sacred laws. You know, of Chinak Nagayin. And so we know that those laws have been broken. And like what you're saying, they dug everything up now. And now look what happened. Our people knew that already a long time ago. You know, I remember hearing this story, and it was about this man his name was Bebamash. It means like floating in the sky. Bebamash. That was his name. Like sailing in the sky, or like, that was his power. He was with his brother. All of a sudden he had a bad cramp in his stomach. Long time ago. Kayas. Long time. He had a pain. So he asked his brother. He said, and his brother's name was Miawas. He said, Miawas, there's something wrong with me. I can feel something in my stomach. His brother was a powerful man and said, let me try to figure out what's wrong with you. And he made a little tent. Where I come from, they call that G-Scan. G-Scan they win. They made a tent. And of course, he went inside that tent. That tent started to shake. And a spirit came up from the ground and told him, the reason why that your brother is sick in his stomach is because last night when he was sleeping, a little snake crawled into his mouth and it went into his stomach and it's making him sick. And the reason why it's making him sick is because it's trying to tell him something. Let him be sick. Let him be. So his brother sank that spirit went back in the ground. And that tent stopped shaking. And he told his brother, he says, I'm sorry, but I was told to leave you like that. You have a snake in your stomach. So his brother said, you have to get it out. His brother said, no, you have to leave it in there. That's what I was told. So finally he got all gray. He was gray. And he was just shaking, sweating. And his brother made a little wigwam for him. And his brother that was sick was just laying there. And said, I'm gonna go somewhere, I think. I have a feeling my spirit is gonna travel. And his brother asked him, Apish Wajayan, where are you gonna go? He says, I don't know. And then that's it, he fell asleep. And as he laid there sleeping, his brother looked at his stomach. On his stomach, you could just see it moving like this. That snake was just moving inside of his stomach. Boy, he got scared for his brother. He didn't know what to do. And his eyes were just closed real tight. He tried to open them up, but his eyes wouldn't open up. And so he sat there and he prayed for his brother, Babamash, for a long time, singing a song. He grabbed 2 sticks and he started to hit them like this. Finally, the next day in the morning, Babamash woke up and said, my spirit was taken underneath the ground. And that in Sagama, that chief serpent took me all the way to where the Nadoak are. The Nadoak are the enemy. Pretty soon they're going to attack. He said, and I was told that I have to go to a place called Bakwa Kwe Genda. He says, they'll take that snake out of my mouth. He says, but everybody's got to follow me. So he went to they went back to the village. And his brother was still sickly. But he was feeling a little bit better because he had that dream. That dream gave him a little bit of power. That powerful dream. Buwajugan, that's what they call that. Buwajugan. It's a sacred dream. Next thing you know, he got back to the village. He told the people, The enemy is not even far. The enemy is just over there at Shkumuknia Shing. That's where the enemy is. You have to follow me. We have to go to Bakwa Kegenda. So they followed Baba Mosh, even though he was sick. They all followed him by canoe. And they didn't know that right behind them, the enemy was right there. Was right there, but they couldn't see them. And the enemy that we're talking about were the Mohawks, the Mohawk people. Our name for them is Nadoak. But the Nadoak are very powerful. And we couldn't see them because they could make themselves invisible. But you could hear them laughing, talking, running along the shoreline, paddling in their canoes. So there was a big chase that happened all the way from Ganabajing, all the way up to a place called Mushgadmung Singh, and then all the way up to Bakwa Kregenda. That's a 2.5 day travel by canoe. I know, I've done it. And when they got to that place, they were trying to go to that special place, Bakwa Kwegenda. Right there's a crack in the rock. And they call that crack Doshkabkak. It's a very, very sacred crack. And on that Wajing, they call it, that big cliff, there is a whole bunch of those pictures, Mustn't it be Ganan? And one of those mezzanine, those pictures, started to move. And all of a sudden it spoke. They're right behind you. Hurry. So the people started paddling faster towards that rock. All of a sudden, arrows were going by them. They looked back, they couldn't see nothing because those Naudawak had strong power. They made themselves, there was a medicine man. Ojao Nimki was his name. He was a powerful medicine man. He turned all of his warriors invisible. But they could see those arrows coming. Rocks, they were even throwing rocks from the shore, throwing them farther than normal. But they kept going towards that rock. Finally, that picture, there was a picture of a man on there. He said, hurry, come to me. And they paddled, and they paddled. All of a sudden, the paddles, they stopped working. And the canoes start to travel by themselves really fast. And all right for that rock they called Doshkabkak, that crack. And as soon as they got there, that rock opened up and the whole tribe paddled in there. And as soon as they got in there, that rock closed up again. And all they can hear is just arrows hitting that rock. Lots of arrows. Stones were being thrown at it. Baba Mosh had led his people to get saved. And inside that rock were a little person, maybe about this big. Maybe about this big only. And they call those people the Mimegwesiwak. And they looked inside there. And in that cave, there was lots of roots and shrubs hanging all over the walls. They had every medicine that you can think of. Lots of powders. Abzichigan, Ansichigan, Anwichigan. It was all there, all hanging, all beautiful medicines all over the place. Right away, a little old Mimegwes, little Mimegwese, Kwe. grabbed that Baba Mosh and sat him down and said, I need to get that snake out of your stomach before it kills you. And she slapped him right in the face. Ah! As soon as she slapped him, oh! He threw up that snake. That snake came out. It was a long snake. That thing kept coming out. He's like, ah! He just kept gagging. That thing was coming out. You should have. The tears were coming down his eyes. Finally, he got that snake out. Ah! He threw that. And that Mimigwesi, that Mimigwesikwe, she grabbed that snake and she put it in a basket. And she put that up there. And she said, oh, Chimigwichwayan. She said, thank you. Oh, Chimigwichwayan. She said, thank you, my brother. That was her friend. The Mimigwesiwak seen everything because they can see the future. Soon the arrows stopped. They stopped hitting those walls. Soon the rock stopped. And of course, my people were scared. They didn't know what to do. They were so amazed at all of the beautiful medicines that were inside there. The Mimigwesiwak gave them medicine and told them, you use this medicine and it's going to help you during times of famine, during time of sickness, during times of war. You'll use this. They said, and this medicine is the blood of the serpents and the thunderbirds when they fight. And gave that medicine to the Babamash. And you know what it was? It was that red paint. And so our people took that and they used that for medicine. And of course they were able to escape. And not long after, they defeated their enemies at a place called Quikwegzwang. The story goes on, but I only have a couple moments left. So in my mind, I always think about those stories. I think about the times that we're in now. What are we supposed to do? Just like the elder said, it's important that we listen to the old people. That's very, very important. Abdek we beskabi Anishinaabe Adswan Nikia. Anishinaabe Kinah Gitamin. And Kapskabe and Apna Nan Enwaying. Kapskabe and Apna Nan Gaunitoying. Ginwin Mon Pienchbain. Going going Gashmi going. We have so much knowledge that we could learn, but we're running out of time. That's what my grandmother always said, Kada. She says we're running out of time. And I think about what the elder said is all true. Everything. And I want to thank all of you for your time. And I always say that if those things happened before, they can happen again. If that power existed before, it can happen again. We just have to get educated that way. Just like what the elder was saying, there's no time for the kids to learn these things. But we have to make time. And the time is now, I think. So nahao, chimigwich, getchin and damyaya mom pi giganon and gok. I'm very happy to be able to speak to you as Nongwa today. So thank you very much. Nahao, miigwech.
Thank you so much, Isaac and Louis Bird, for coming in for a few minutes. It was a lot and amazing stories. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah!